These discussions are really getting kind of easy to make. I kind of like them, and they're discussions, so I get to talk about whatever I want, but there's no script, so I kind of slur my words. Again, sorry for warning. Alright, on to the video. Welcome back to another video of me discussing something in Final Fantasy XIV and/or games that will happen in the future. Of course, when we do these discussions, I don't have a script, and I think I put a warning in front of this video, but just to let you know, there's no script, so I'm going to slur my words a lot. Today I want to talk about the casters. So there are three main casters in Final Fantasy XIV. All are pretty powerful in their own right, and they're very useful. As a DPS, me myself, I'd rather go with Red Mage. Now Red Mage used to be my third DPS under Dragoon. Dragoon used to be my main DPS. I don't know where I fell out of that. I still like Dragoon, I have no idea. When did that happen? But nonetheless, Red Mage got me thinking that if I can get Red Mage high enough, put on the right materia, maybe I can make him powerful and more useful. Since Red Mages are still very useful in every scenario, there's no reason why there shouldn't be a Red Mage in a party, unless you have a Summoner, which promptly replaces the Red Mage, but like I'm saying, the Red Mage is my second favorite job in the game, and that's because I even have a video. I made a video on Red Mage, and that's because of its utilities, its spells, and what it can do. However, there is a bit of a lackluster with the Red Mage compared to like the Summoner and the Black Mage. The Summoner is the outright highest in terms of DPS output, and not only is it the best AoE killer ever, it used to be stronger back in the day, but even now, it's still the highest when it comes to outputting the most DPS. One of those things that I would surely think is because that has the addition of Bahamut coming out and shooting, a goddamn Mega Flare in your face, and I know it's called something else. It's an Akmor, I know. But, and trust me, I got Summoner up to level 70, and I'll show you here right now. I got my Summoner up to level 70, I have my Red Mage up to level 70, though I don't have my Black Mage up to level 70. I do have friends who themselves tell me what Black Mage is like at level 70, and I myself have seen how they acted and how they work, and I know how it goes with a Black Mage, let's just say that. I know how it outputs a high amount of explosive DPS. Like, it can have the highest number, but it won't output the highest DPS compared to that of a Summoner. Yes, sure, over a Red Mage, but a Red Mage is more utility than it is a DPS output, and me myself, my goal is try to make a Red Mage as high of a damage dealer as possible, while also still having the responsibility of rezzing people who are dead in the field so that the healers can save their MP for, healing everybody in the party instead of rezzing something, because rezzes always take a lot of MP nonetheless. Now, we all know that the Black Mage does not res nobody. They are very selfish, and what they do is they're gonna tag somebody, say, hey look, you look safe out there, I'm gonna zip over to you. I've seen that all the time, and I'm glad there are expert Black Mages that are using that. And they get to zip back to their ley lines, which increases their spell speed rate and their power when it comes to explosive quality. In terms of AoE though, they're not the best, and definitely over the Red Mage, I can tell you that, but nowhere close to Summoner, who can just AoE the ever-living Christ out of everything. And that's what I like about Summoners. Not only can they do that, and they have potent spells, but they bring out a fucking dragon, and they just nuke everything, and that's what I love about Summoners. One of my friends, his name's Calcor, which he has a stream if you want to go check that out. He is a Summoner main. Though he claims that he's not the best Summoner, he is pretty good at what he does. I mean, it's his main job. Me, I like using Summoner because it has Bahamut, although I wish Bahamut could stay out more than just, maybe, what was it, like 15-20 seconds? I don't know. He stays out for so long, you can get like 2 Akmorns. I think it's 10 seconds to be honest. I have no idea, but that's not the point. The point is that Summoner is very strong, has a lot of potent DPS, has the best AoEs, and what the Red Mage is lacking is AoE power. In terms of having power in itself, it has dual cast to supplement that. So say I had a crit I have crit on my gear in terms of materia, and when I see like a double 30 or double 40,000, that means I'm doing something right, and the RNG is in my pocket right now. I can do dual cast. I've done dual cast 30-40 before, so I've got it off of a flare or a holy, flare or holy, and it was a 40 or a 30,000. Now that may not be the highest DPS you can get, but that was my highest at that point. I hit 41, to be honest, and then the next one I had like a 30 or a 35, and you can get that off of like your other spells when you dual cast between your Ver Flare and your Ver Holy, and that's a high amount of DPS. But compared to Black Mages, which I've seen go up to 60,000, may not be the best burst when it comes to DPS casting. And it's like a crapshoot for Red Mages, even though they do a whole bunch of spells all the time. I think their RNG and their crit rate is a little lower than a Black Mage, and even though it may equate to Summoner, Summoner just does outright devastating damage. And though the Summoner is not as fast as the Red Mage, they can do all the damage to everybody. And not only that, the Summoner has dots galore, and the continuous damage racks up that DPS over time, damage over time, and they can focus on doing that damage at the same time doing regular damage, then bringing out their Summoners, which could supplement that damage depending on what they have. So if they have Ifrit out, it's I think there's a difference here. I think Garuda supplements your dots and Ifrit supplements the burst. I'm not totally sure, but I don't have the summoning mechanics down. I'm not an expert summoner, so you can't take my word for it, but I can tell you that when I had Garuda out, my dots felt stronger, and when Ifrit was out, I felt like I had more bursts. I might be confused, but that's what I felt. When I have the Red Mage, I know that I'm not doing as much damage as I am with the Summoner. And at this point, though my Red Mage is stronger than my Summoner as of right now, I could tell you that if I was perfectly equipped with my Summoner, I know that I would be doing a hell of a lot more damage. Now for my Black Mage, even though it's not at level 70, I know that I won't be able to get as fast or even that high a DPS because I'm not the best Black Mage in the world, and I know that if you want to be a good Black Mage, you need to know how to quickly get out of something, get back into your ley lines, get out of your ley lines, quickly move, know when to send out your spells so that it ticks correctly, and if you have like the best internet speed, you know that your spells will go off even though you're moving. And that's the one thing that I really did learn as a Red Mage. You can move at the end of a certain point. When you're casting, it'll go off anyway, and since I have dual cast, I can just immediately do the second spell, so that's what I love about Red Mage. Though Red Mage is not very strong in the AoE output, their variety makes them kind of like, okay to go into everything. Trials, Rage, Dungeons, doesn't matter. They have the res, they can Ver-Cure. I think they're the only ones that can cure out of the caster DPS, and between Ver-Flare and Ver-Holy, which I think Ver-Flare should be an AoE, and Ver-Holy should be a lot higher in terms of damage because it's like a fucking beam from the bottom, kind of like Ockmorn. I believe that if the Red Mage could get some sort of AoE utility, and perhaps if you really want them to be that middleman, maybe not have the highest damage, give them something like an AoE cure, or maybe an AoE shielding or something. Something to cement that they are the middle class between being the caster healer. Something other than just having Ver-Cure and Ver-Raise. Maybe a Ver-Shield, maybe a Ver-AoE heal, maybe more than just, Shatter. Like, okay, maybe you can still have Shatter, but after Shatter, something else procs for you to use another AoE, and then boom, maybe dots with that other AoE, and then afterwards something that is related to Ver-Flare and Ver-Holy, which would help Shatter be more substance to being an AoE and having like an AoE like Big Bang attack after all of this, and having you use up your mana so you can use maybe your three physical attacks, which honestly having 3 point blank physical attacks and having 1 AoE physical attack, which you don't use too much with the AoE unless the big party. And even so, I mean, I've had 10k crits with that physical AoE. It's just, it doesn't feel as powerful or prominent than you would have with Black Mage using Flare, or when they even use Fire 2, and then nothing compared to the Summoner. Nothing. Red Mage has nothing compared to the Summoner when it comes to AoE. They don't even count when it comes to AoE. When a Red Mage comes in, they're more focused on one person. You can say the same thing with Black Mage, but at the very least, they have the option to just, you know, Fire 2 and have a lot of damage come off Fire 2, and then flare the ever-living mess out of everything. They can flare like twice in a row, and I've heard you can do it 3 times in a row. I think I've heard that before, doing flare 3 times in a row, but Red Mages don't have that AoE, and if you do want to submit them to be that utility class, make sure that they have the spells, the skills to do it. Have shields, have AoE magic, have more AoEs, have dots. They don't have dots at all, and their wow, their buff is just bad. Okay, so I know you guys know about their buffs, and it kind of disappoints me to know that, you know, this buff is not really the best, and a lot of people were confused when to use this buff. I use it right before I jump back and use Verflare and Verholy. You're probably seeing it on screen right now that I use Verflare and Verholy, but I use the buff while I'm in very close with the enemy or the target, and everyone else is around me, and at that range, everybody is going to get your buff. You could back up, then use Verflare and Verholy, and you can actually see the product of what you've done with that buff. And honestly, it's not even the best buff. It lasts for so long. Every time you use it, it's not like it's an assurance of actually getting something better. I believe it ups everyone's like physical attack or something. It's honestly one of the lowest tier buffs in the game, and I use it to buff myself because the product of that is that my spells get better, but everybody else gets physical attacks. Meanwhile, there's a Black Mage over there saying, you know what, fuck you too. I don't need your stupid buff. It's a weird buff, and to be honest, I think they could stand to use another one that actually helps the entire party with everything that they have. I mean, sure, it'll help the tank and physical DPS, but casters are shit out of luck. And you know what? I mean, maybe there's something hidden with this whole entire buff and how to use it, but the way I use it, apparently it works out okay with a lot of people in trials and raids. People don't mind when I do it that way, and you know, even though people don't care when I pull it off because it's like whatever, it'll only last for like 5 attacks or so, and after which it's like everybody's depending on the Black Mage and or the Summoner for the main DPS, while the Red Mage is just there, and they're there to res. They're prioritized over to res over the Summoner. So and don't get me wrong, I love the Red Mage, and how to use the Red Mage, I have it packed in my head. I know how to use Red Mage perfectly well. I somehow come on top charts when it comes to DPS output, so I'm doing something right. But when it comes to Red Mage, they're not the most exciting to use. They're actually quite disappointed at sometimes, and I really hope and wish that maybe in the future they'll come out with better skills and spells for them so that they can catch up with the other DPS in terms of being useful, other than being either the res bitch or, you know, being that subpar DPS output. I know that Black Mages was on a decline at one point. I think they're still fine. I think they're still good. They're obviously great, and I honestly think that anybody who would pass on the time of a Black Mage coming into a party, and basically if that Black Mage is coming in anyway, they know what the fuck they're doing. So don't pass on a good Black Mage. They're really good at what they do. They output so much damage, and if they know how to use any of their buffs, since now that we can all use all 10 of our class rolled skills now, you will be passing on a really good DPS. As for a Red Mage, I mean, sometimes it's hard to see the difference from one Red Mage to another. I'm not seeing much ever really different from one Red Mage than Joe Schmo Steve over there, who's also a really good Red Mage, and it's like whatever, either one of you could do whatever. But that's why I have a Summoner in my back pocket, and I'm still learning more about the Summoner, and I wish, because as much more I'm playing as the Summoner, there's so much I want the Red Mage to have that the Summoner has, and even what the Black Mage has, I wish the Red Mage also has. So, I mean, if we're going to keep the Red Mage as it is, give him more utility. Give him AoE heals, maybe a shield, give them a better buff by far, and have a better use of their AoE than that one shatter move and that one physical move, which, to be honest, I mean, could be a whole lot better. Well, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Please let me know in the comments below. I do like these discussions. If you want to hear more and want me to talk about anything else, and I haven't even asked that before, but if you want me to talk about something else, please leave it in the comments below. As for any lore videos or any guides, I don't have any plans for any guides, and that's because 4.4 is kind of lackluster in terms of all that, and I'd probably be repeating myself. It's like I'd have to make a guide after every patch, which I'm not going to do. And as for lores, I'm still searching. There are a lot of things that's already been answered in their giant book that they gave out. It's a huge book and it pretty much says everything, but in terms of that, you can, also leave in the comments what you want me to talk about in terms of lore. But mainly, what else should we discuss? Anyway, thanks for watching, and you have a great day.